Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Transformation Tuesdays. I'm your host, Christy Effelman with Edge Leadership, and today we are joined by Edge grad Latifa Miller. Hello, my friend. Welcome, Latifa.
Hi, hello. I am so excited to be here with you all. I am Latifa Miller. I am a model. I model authenticity. That is who I am. It's who I've been. It is what I do. It is what makes me thrive and what gives me life. I also work in corporate America. I am a trainer, a corporate trainer, helping onboard people, giving them everything that they need to get them straight. I'm a wife of an amazing husband. I have two adult children who I love. They are thriving. They make me so proud. I'm very active in my sorority, and I am also a founder of Daughters of Zion, an enrichment program for girls. And I spend a lot of time with young ladies, helping to make them whole, helping to affirm them, helping them understand that they are enough just as they are, and hoping that they will learn to model authenticity as well.
I love it. And don't you love how she just introduced herself, by the way? How often do we, when someone says, so, tell me about yourself, do we automatically go to, here's my role? Oh, I'm the CEO of Edge Leadership. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Like, I love how you started with, I'm a model. Like,
Mhm,
love that.
mhm.
Love that. And you do. You model the way so beautifully, not just for the girls around you, but for all of us. All
Amen.
of us,
Thank
my
you.
friend.
Thank you. Thank
Mm.
you.
Which is why I couldn't help but invite Latifa to join us for this December Transformation Tuesday. And if you have joined us in the past, you may know. And for those of you that are among Latifa's followers and joining us for the first time tonight, welcome. Welcome. The outcome for this evening is one thing and one thing only: to provide a powerful platform to showcase stories of transformation that I hope will inspire all of us, that we too can reinvent ourselves and transform our lives in big and small ways. We don't have to wait. Transformation doesn't mean that we're going to quit our job and launch a company. It doesn't mean that we're going to move to another state, although it can be. But transformation is what matters to you in this moment and how you want to shift in
Mhm.
your life, either personally or professionally. So, each month, we have a leader who has challenged the status quo in their personal and professional lives. And if ever there is someone who challenges the status quo, it is Latifa. So, my dear, if you would kick us off and briefly tell us your story in your world, your words, take us back to, prior to Edge, take us back to where you were, and then how you have transformed.
Wow. So before Edge, I was just going to work every day. I had a corporate job. I just showed up. I did what they told me to do, how they told me to do. I didn't have any aspirations. I was just there. If they asked me to stretch, I would stretch. And I wasn't connecting the dots. Prior to Edge, I didn't know my power. I didn't know what I brought to the table. I didn't understand my influence. I didn't understand the power of my voice. So I was using it and I was showing up in ways, but I wasn't in control of my presence and I didn't know the power of my voice. When I was selected to join Edge, and I came to Edge on a scholarship, I didn't know what it was about. I didn't seek Edge out. Someone saw it in me and recognized that Edge would help me, that Edge would grow me, that Edge would develop me. And I went in very apprehensive. When I went into
I
Edge, I
remember.
went in as a woman of color. There weren't that many women of color in the room with me. So I didn't know. I didn't know what to expect. But the warmth that I felt immediately shut all of that down. And I recognized that I was with other women who were seeking exactly what I was seeking. I was where I needed to be. Edge poured into me professionally, but Edge poured into me personally. Edge spoke to the woman that I was. It spoke to the struggles that I was having. We as women have struggles that we don't talk about, and we put ourselves in boxes and we think that, well, this is for CEOs to talk about, and this is for wives to talk about, and this is for mothers to talk about. We have all these boxes, but we are women. We are women, and we have womanhood issues. And they're across the board, whether you're in your 20s, whether you're in your 60s, these trends run across all of us. And so we were able to connect on those things and recognize different isms that we all were struggling with and kind of help us with it. So the power is in what it did for me as a woman. And then when I got my womanhood together, I could rise up as a professional in a very different manner and I could own my power. I could hold it back or I could insert it. And it changed me. It changed me. There was one specific exercise that we did that took us back. It was two exercises that were impactful specifically. One, we were talking to the little girl and in us, our childhood selves, and you don't realize how much she dictates how you move in your adulthood. And so there was a conversation that needed to happen between adult Latifa and little Latifa. That was transformational for me. The second one was about that stinking thinking and that little voice that's always telling you something, and that doubt and that hesitation. And I had to learn to put her in the back seat and let her know, you don't run this. I
Right.
run this. And those were game changers for me because you still get stuck and you still have your moments where you're not so sure if you have what it takes. But the minute that you affirm the little girl and the minute you tell your stinking thinking to get in the back seat, you're good. You're good. It's all good after that.
It's all good after that. And you can, without the distractions, you can stand in your power.
Yes. And when you're sure of yourself, the distractions don't rattle you the same.
It's
They
true.
happen, but you don't flinch. You don't freeze. You don't give them your attention. You don't go down the rabbit hole with them. You just say, okay, that was a distraction. And you stand in your truth.
I
And
agree
that
with
wasn't there before Edge.
And I feel like for me, when I'm not grounded in that same way, I assign so much more value to what it is that they're saying.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely, you do. You think it's true.
You do?
You
Oh my
think it's
gosh.
true. And I'm like, they're just words. Thank you for your perception, but it is not the truth that I identified with.
I
But
love
thank you. Thanks for sharing.
I love that. So, two things, friends, that I want to point out that Latifa just mentioned. First of all, whatever the voice or the voices are in your head, some people have an entire negative committee that lives in there. If you can hear the voice, you aren't the voice. If you can hear it, you aren't. And just as Latifa said so beautifully, all the time we hear people say things to us, people have opinions. And just because someone says something to me does not mean that I need to change what I am doing because of it.
Yep. Yep. And you have to know that. And that's the power of Edge. Edge is where women come together and tell you that.
Yes.
Sometimes you don't have anybody telling you that because you're surrounding yourself with people who believe what they're hearing. So they don't have what it takes to tell you you don't have to listen.
Yes.
It makes a difference. Who you surround yourself with makes a tremendous difference in your ability to stand in your truth.
Yes. Without a doubt. And I think, was it Oprah who said, you are a compilation of the 5 people you spend the most of your time with?
Yes.
So true.
It's so true.
So true. And the other thing that Latifa said that I really want to underscore, do you notice when she was talking to her stinking thinking? My inner critic's name is Edith, by the way. And did you notice how gracious she was with her voice? Thank you. I hear you. I appreciate your perception, and I'm still going this way. I feel like a lot of leaders, both women and men, struggle with imposter syndrome across the gender spectrum, even folks who don't identify with femininity or masculinity. As a construct, so to speak. But oftentimes, when folks talk about this inner critic, they often talk about it with resistance, that we have to fight them, that we have to win. And the reality is, and the research all shows this, is that we need to befriend them,
Mhm.
that they showed up at a time and place in our life to protect us. And they serve that purpose. And we have to trust, my friends, that their intentions are pure. Their intentions are to protect us. And as adults, whole and healthy adults, we don't need them to protect us anymore. And we get into trouble when we allow them to keep us small.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I remind myself, um, specifically, I have issues with my mom and learning to give grace. And so I have to remember that sometimes that inner critic helped me navigate through some
Oh,
places I wasn't equipped to navigate through when I was younger. So she is my friend
yes, she
because she carried me when I couldn't carry myself. So, okay, we got grace. I understand you're still here. You have some maturing to do. You're missing out on some of the changes. You're not getting the memo. However, you're a part of who I am. I am who I am because you were who you were in my past, not in my presence anymore. So I did have to learn to give her grace, but in giving her grace, it has afforded me the opportunity to know what that feels like. And
yes.
so I can give grace to my mother because
Mhm.
I've practiced giving grace to this other part of me. And so it served me in a way that I didn't even expect to come, that it taught me how to give grace.
I love that. I love that. And I haven't 100% decided on my intention for 2023. Um, but so far it's grace. And the fact that you just brought that up is I'm like the universe and the good Lord is just like, one more time, Christy, I'm just letting you know. Remember how you've been circling around that word grace for the last 3 weeks?
Yeah,
So
do it. Do it. That's your word.
that's
That's
my
your
word.
word.
That's my word. I love it. All right, next question, my friend. Is looking back at your cohort experience, your peer group, your edge ladies, what would you say were your top 3 takeaways?
Wow, there were so many takeaways. One of my top three was do it afraid.
Mm,
Being afraid doesn't mean that you can't, that you shouldn't. It doesn't mean that you're not capable. It just means that you feel afraid.
right.
That feeling is okay. Do it afraid. And I did it. I did it afraid. I kept showing up and it paid off. So doing it afraid mattered to me. A second takeaway was be all in for me. I don't do gray. I don't do halfway. I'm either all in or I am not. And there was a time I wasn't comfortable with that.
Right.
I'm too much. She's over the top. She's extra. I don't know. If you don't know what to do with me, that doesn't mean that there's something wrong with me.
Mm,
And so learning to be all in and understanding that that is my standard is fine.
mm,
And that was affirmed in me through Edge. So that was definitely one of my takeaways. And my last takeaway was find your tribe.
mm.
Your tribe might not look like you, might not sound like you. Your tribe might not be where you are. There are women that I connected with in Edge that are life changers for me that I would not have met had I not been in Edge. Would never have met, would never have crossed their path. We just would not have connected. I wouldn't have sought them out. We wouldn't have organically, it just would not have happened without Edge. But they are key instruments in my life. And I met them through Edge. And understanding that they are my tribe and that I wouldn't have met them unless it wasn't for Edge, now I'm more willing to recognize that who I'm connected to might not look like, sound like who I think it should. That was a really big takeaway for me.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. As you were talking, two things came up for me. The first was um, that courage is not the absence of fear.
Mm, yeah,
It's
not
doing it anyway. As you said, it's doing it afraid. Like, my friends, if we wait until we aren't afraid, we will never do anything. Like,
correct.
fear is a part of the human condition. Courage is acting despite the fear.
Hmm.
So,
Absolutely. And I found that when I move when I'm afraid, what I find is safety.
wait, tell me about that. Tell me about that.
So there's things that you need, things that you're seeking, things that you want. You can't find them. You're just trying to figure it out and everything isn't secure and you're just not so sure. And I'll move into something afraid and everything I need is right there. It all falls together. And I'm like, if I hadn't done it afraid, I wouldn't have found this safe space. I just recently went to a retreat. It was in Niagara Falls. I didn't know these women. Well, I met them online. I knew them online. We had built this online relationship, but I really did not know them. Had I not taken the risk to do that anyway and build these relationships, I wouldn't have been comfortable going on the trip. It was a 3-day retreat and it was magnificent. It was everything that I needed to reset, to refresh, to get on track, to stay on track.
Yes.
But I had to do something. I was like, I don't know these ladies. I was going anyway. Initially, I was going by myself. Eventually, a friend did go with me, and it was amazing. But I was really going to Niagara Falls to meet strangers at a conference. And it was necessary, and there was safety, and there was release, and there was revelation that I needed for the next stage of where I'm going in my life. I would have denied myself that opportunity had I not been willing to do it afraid.
Yeah, love that. And the other thing that I want to call out to those of you that are listening, because I have the privilege of knowing Latifa as a friend and knowing her truth, and something that you just said about that you were going to refresh and renew. And one of the things I really appreciate about you, my friend, is your intention with your own growth.
Mm.
So before we went on this live, Latifa and I were talking about, like, what are we going to do over the holidays and how we take time for ourselves. And, some of you who tune in every month know that I take a very intentional, I call it personal strategic planning, and I do it for 2 days in January, and then I do it for 2 days in July every year, kind of like my own performance review for myself.
Mhm.
Right, I set my goals for the year, personal and professional, and then at the midpoint I check in with myself, like, how am I doing on my goals, and what goals have shifted and what does that look like. And I know that Latifa does this as well, taking that time to take stock and reflect on, all right, so we're at the close of 2022. How did it work out the way I thought it would?
Mhm.
How has it worked out better? What challenges have I had? And what intentions do I want to set for 2023?
Right. I think that is so important because being an African American woman, I have watched Black women for decades
Mhm.
live according to what was expected of them and being stuck and not serving themselves well. And the pressures of life just kind of get you in a routine. They didn't stop. They didn't stop to reset. They didn't stop to try to figure out a different path. Many of them just kept coping and just kept going because they had responsibilities. They had things that they had to do. They they just didn't they weren't afforded the luxury to figure it out. I was given that opportunity. I'm going to take it. I'm not going to be stuck and just go because that's what everybody else is doing. Time out. What do I need? What do I need? Is this serving me well? This isn't serving me well. This is serving me well, but I'm not giving it enough of my attention. There's a variety of, outcomes. But if you don't stop to figure that out, then you're not going to know that. And it's so important to do because we all have responsibilities. We have responsibilities at work. We have responsibilities at home. We have responsibilities with our families. But if we just keep going and going and going, we might end up at the end with regrets. And the women that I saw, it just didn't make them feel good. And I didn't feel good for them because they didn't seek out what was their truth, what was their purpose, what was their calling. And because I have the opportunity to do so, I'm going to do so. And that's how I honor them. I honor their sacrifice by making sure that I thrive because
Mhm.
that's what they wanted from me. And we all deserve it.
Everything. I just want to. I want to have a big thing that says what she said. What she said. And so we're gonna end with your words, my dear. If you could, so imagine that right now, someone out there is listening to this, and they are right on the cusp
Mm.
doing something different, something doing something afraid. Maybe it's a challenging family conversation over the holidays. Maybe it's setting boundaries around these holidays. Maybe it's how burnt out and exhausted they feel at work as they keep taking on more and more because other team members aren't there anymore. Whatever it may be to that person that is right there on the edge, pun totally intended. I mean, I didn't intend it, but I intend it right now. If you could give them one piece of advice or one best practice from your transformation journey, what would it be?
I would tell them breathe,
Mm.
breathe, and you're enough. You've got it. You deserve it. My spiritual mother used to tell me, your knower knows, right? Your gut knows. Follow her. She does not lead you wrong. Go for it. Go for it. In the relationship, start the relationship, set the boundaries. Do it. Do it. If it's not working out perfect, you'll reset. It's okay. Go for it. Do not stay on the edge. Don't linger there. Go for it. Go for it. You're going to be okay. Go for it, sis. Go for it.
And with that, I will close us out. Go for it. Whatever it is, you heard it from Latifa. And my friends, today, now more than ever, we need leaders, whole people, to challenge the status quo of their personal and professional lives. And in doing so, inspire others to do the same. Thank you for joining us this month. We will see you in 2023. So long, everybody.
Thanks.